Hello everyone, and welcome back to Baking with Brian. Today I'm going to show you the process on how to bake Aebleskiver Danish pancakes. Remember, Vern 2018 wrote, "The goal of a process speech is to explain and show how something is done, how it's made, and works." This is what I'm going to do for you today. I'm going to make some magic in the kitchen and show you how it's done. I was watching a show on the Travel Channel 2 years ago starring Andrew Zimmerman. Yes, the same Andrew Zimmerman who eats the weird and gross food. He was browsing through a Danish bazaar and happened upon a man baking strange little planet-like donuts on an indented pan. The little pastries were filled with cream and looked fantastic. I had never seen anyone bake these pastries by stovetop before. Leidenfield and Periscoli wrote, 2016, "From the popularity of Mexican food to the rise of sushi, to the proliferation of fusion cuisine, ethnic food has an important place on the American table." I was fascinated by this process, and I wanted to try it as soon as possible. I went onto Amazon and found and ordered an Aebleskiver pan within an hour of my discovery. An Aebleskiver pastry is a Danish snack that is spherical in shape and resembles little planets. The word Aebleskiver is Danish for apple slices. No, I don't understand why they would call and compare this pastry to an apple slice. Don't get it. Everyone has the potential means to become a successful pastry chef at home, including you. Like I mentioned in my previous videos, I started by cooking cinnamon toast at a very young age. From that very moment on, I've exponentially become a better baker. Before beginning the preparation for this recipe, you must first clean and sanitize your counter and your stove area. Lots of towels, wet towels, sponges. As you can see, I've already done so, and I've already prepared all the tools and ingredients that I need to start. The Aebleskiver pan is an indented pan that you use to bake pastries on the stovetop. As you can see, it's flat, but indented. It's pretty awesome. It is a very similar process like cooking pancakes, except we're going to use plastic condiment bottles like the kind you use for picnics to deliver the batter into the Aebleskiver pan because it's quick and prevents drippy messes. For turning the pastries, we're going to use a wooden chopstick. This recipe does not require a spatula like traditional pancakes do. So I'm going to go ahead and preheat the stove with my pan to medium heat. Let it warm up. The Aebleskiver pastries can be filled with anything. I typically like to make a buttercream or Bavarian cream, but today I'm going to use Nutella or generic Nutella. It tastes the same. I'm going to use a plastic freezer bag to pipe the Nutella into the pastry. This is an easy and quick and clean delivery method. So let's get started. So this recipe is going to yield about 30 pastries in all. In my KitchenAid mixer, I'm going to add all my dried ingredients, which are flour, salt, baking powder, sugar, and cinnamon. So I'm going to start with my flour. Two and a half cups. One teaspoon of salt. I like to use pink salt because it tastes good and it's pretty. 4.5 teaspoons of baking powder. 4 tablespoons of sugar. This recipe does not require a lot of sugar because it is the filling that gives it the sweetness. And a teaspoon of cinnamon. I like to give it a little bit more cinnamon. Can't hurt. That happens. Okay. In a separate mixing bowl, I'm going to add all the wet ingredients, which are 2 eggs, 2 cups of milk, and 6 tablespoons of melted butter, which I've already melted. Mix all the wet ingredients well with a whisk. Break the eggs up. So mix all the wet ingredients well with the whisk. Add them to the dry. You mix well until well blended and thin enough to go through the funnel into the picnic bottle. But you can see I've cut the top of the picnic bottle a little wider so it's easier to pour. Use a plastic spatula for the edges of the bowl to knock the dry ingredients out so it's blended well with the wet. When it's done, add the wet ingredients with the funnel to the dry, which I've already done. Once that's done, this is ready to start cooking with. Now it's time to spoon the Nutella into a plastic freezer bag. Don't be greedy with it. Give it a little squeeze to the bottom corner. Give it a little twist or two. Clip the end. Now it's ready for piping. Okay, now we're ready to cook. So now my Aebleskiver pan is preheated to the right temperature. So give it a little bit of a squirt of grease. Make sure it's hot enough. Medium to medium high heat. And when it's hot enough, we start by pre-filling the indentions. about halfway with the batter. And then quickly add a little dollop of filling. Like I said, I'm using Nutella. An actual piping bag would probably be a lot better than trying to use a freezer bag. That's what I have, so I'm dealing with it. Add more batter on top of your filling. Just enough to cover it. Like I said before, we use a chopstick. So now we're waiting for bubbles, just like you do when you're cooking pancakes. The bubbles are starting to pop now on the pancakes. So what you do is you give them a flip when they're ready. Not quite ready yet. They actually make tools for this dessert for flipping them, but I find that chopsticks work just fine. My assistant is here again today. Say hi, Katie.
Hi.
You can keep rolling them as they cook. Flip them a couple more times. Just need a stick. There you have it. Little round pastries. Ferguson, 2014, wrote, "Food talk makes many forms and does many things. When we talk about food, we share our pleasure in what we eat, but we conjure the dangers of consumption no less than we convey its delights." Remember, too much of anything isn't good for you. These Danish pancakes might actually look and taste as if they're out of this world. As you can see, they look like little planets, rings and all. They're beautiful, tasty, delightful. This concludes this episode of Baking with Brian.